Hi, Melanie Muenchinger here, illustrator for Gina K Designs. Today I'm going to be sharing a project with you using my Lots of Letters set from Gina K Designs. I realized today that I have never done any videos for this set because I created it before I started my YouTube channel. I do have several videos for Lots of Letters 2, which is the companion set that has this same font with an alphabet but in capital letters. So here we've got a very versatile lowercase, and that one also includes lots of different shapes and borders that you can stamp those different letters into to create tags, single monograms, or titles on your cards and your scrapbook projects. So today I want to show something with lots of letters, and I'm also going to be using one of Teresa Momber's sets, Elegant Florals. I'm going to be using this silhouette of a fern or a leafy branch, and then one of the greetings. The card that we're making today, we're not going to be using any of these letters, but I'm going to be focusing on this particular border. I love using these different rounded squares for making a background like this. So you don't have to fill the whole card front if you wanted to do just one row or two rows. That's up to you. Here I made kind of a gradient with these warm colors in Gina K colors, but depending on how you stamp it, when I turn this sideways, you'll notice that it has two rounded corners and two pointed corners. So depending on which half you're looking at, if you're looking at this side, you've got rounded corners on both ends, and on this side, you've got pointed corners on both ends. So depending on how you stack these together, it's going to give you a really different feel. If you were to just do two, you see here with these rounded corners facing out, you see you have kind of this rounded cube, but here with the points facing out, it kind of looks like a really modern four-petaled flower. So I'm going to show you the products that we're going to need for today's quick card. We've got obviously those two stamp sets. They're both in clear. I've got some of the Gina K Pure Luxury cardstock in the Sweet Mango, and this is 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, scored at 4 1/4. And then I've got a piece that is 5.5 by 3 7/8 inches. So on this card today, I am going all the way to the top. It's going to be a little different because I just really wanted to focus on the vertical of that border. But if you like it better with the frame all the way around, you can use the typical 4 by 5 1/4 measurement. And then I have a piece for just popping up those individual little squares. And this is about 1 inch by about 5 inches. That's how much you'll need to create this project. So just a scrap. The inks that I'm using today, I've got the Gina K Dark Chocolate, the Tomato Soup, Sweet Mango, Kraft, and finally the Sweet Corn. You'll need some various acrylic blocks. I've got a long one, so something that's about 5 to 6 inches long for stamping that border, and then a medium size and small one for doing the greeting the branch and this individual piece. Okay, last thing you're going to need just a little bit of adhesive, some scissors for cutting out the squares, and then just some little pop dots. Okay, so to begin, you see I've got my score mat here today. This is something that I like to use when I'm trying to find the middle of my mats when I'm stamping out a pattern. It's just going to come out a lot more even. So I'm not looking at this dimension, I'm just looking at this side. So I'm finding the middle of that mat, so it's just under 4 inches, so finding that 2-inch mark there, and I'm going to be stamping above and below it. I'm going to go in order of light to dark on these colors so that I don't have to worry about getting a color that I don't want. For instance, having a little bit of tomato soup residue left on the stamp and then stamping the yellow. That's going to turn out very orange. So I'm going to ink this all over. And I want, for this one, I want the points facing out towards the corners on each end. So that means that the border in the middle, I want to have the point facing the middle so that then out here the point can be facing outside. So I'm going to stamp it just below that midpoint. Okay, and remove. And if you wanted a more subtle gradient, you could even stamp this off in that same color, but just wanted to play with the different color ink pads today. Now we're going to do the Kraft, so I'm going to ink this all over. And you could stamp this in all one color if you choose, and it's just going to be more subtle. but I love this for a gradient. So you're just going to make a little bit of space there, leaving a little space in between the border above it, and lift away so the see they're nice and lined up. So see those cubes there in the middle, but then the flowers on the ends. Now you could keep stamping upwards, but I'm going to turn this mat over and stamp towards me just so that I'm not getting my head in the way. So the next color that we're going to do is the Sweet Mango. And this one, I want to have that end part, the points facing in to create that square. So pardon my head. Let's line that up. And don't worry too much about having too much space in between. The clear stamps makes it really easy, but it's okay if you get a little bit off there. We're going to be stamping something over that and then popping up those corners, so it won't be too noticeable. You can also ink these if you prefer with a larger stamp like this to have it face down on your work surface, and then ink across. Okay, so this one's going to be facing out. I don't need the grid anymore, so I'm just going to move that up a little bit. So I'm just going to lean over. Got the points facing the corners, and that's done. These colors are really going to fade a lot as it dries. You'll see it lighten up there. Now let's use this little square to stamp out the different squares we're using. So I'm going to do one of each color, and then I'm going to do 2 of the orange. And you can layer these over the same color to blend in, but I'm going to trade some of them out. So I've got a darker color on top of a lighter border, and then a lighter color on top of a darker border to mix that up. And it creates kind of a sparkling effect when you see those colors bouncing back and forth. And we're going to cut them out. So I stamped them pretty much in a line, so that's going to make them very easy to trim. Let's go ahead, and before I cut that out though, I'm going to stamp my branch and my greeting. So I'm just going to stamp the branch going across the bottom there. And then I'm going to take this wishing you every happiness today and always. And I'm going to stamp this with that top line in between here. It's going to be easier to read if I put it over the white. So pardon my head if I get in the way. Okay, isn't that pretty? I love those mixed fonts right there. All right, so now what we're going to do, and I also, one last thing that I do want to do with this is I am going to stamp just a little bit of that branch onto that square. And that's just going to pull your eye up and repeat. So I think that's just kind of a nice little touch. So it's like it's a little focal point there of its own. You can do that on all of them if you want. I kind of just liked it on one. But see, there's no embellishments on the card. You're creating your own embellishments with these little squares. And they're very easy to cut out. You can cut them out on the line or just have a tiny white reveal. So you're just going to cut squares in between, and then at the end you just got the 2 curved portions to round off. So it's very simple. And I didn't want to make that little reveal around the edge too big because I don't want it going over the other squares in my border. And then you're just going to put a pop dot on the back of each and arrange them however you like. But I've got that middle space there, so you kind of have your design is in thirds here. You've got your greeting, then you've got this with the image, and then these interesting popped up pieces in the center. So this would make a really nice masculine card. These colors might seem kind of fallish right now, but I just love all these warm colors. It makes me think of sunshine in the spring and the summer. I love earth colors really any time of year. Okay, so I'm going to turn these over and just put one of these little foam squares on the back of each. Okay, so you can put these in any kind of combination that you want. This is how I did it. I wanted the colors to go back and forth, so I wanted the bright red on top of that yellow, so I'm making the point line up with the point. So we've got one here, and then we've got this Kraft playing off of the Kraft here next to it. This one right here. Bring the orange over to the other side. Where did my last one go? Here we go. And you can also do them, so here you can see, cut just a tiny bit more off of this to be consistent. Okay. So it's a lot more subtle, but it's still nice to add that dimension even if it's color on color, tone on tone like that. And then I want to go ahead and I want to bring the outside of my card to the inside, so I'm just going to stamp this pretty branch here at the corner. And add some adhesive to the base. And the card is complete. This is one of my favorite borders that I've designed. I think it's just really fun, really modern looking, but it's also kind of retro. And I think it just looks so pretty with any type of image and really great with any of the florals that I've designed. I hope you enjoyed this project and it gives you lots of ideas for how you can use the Lots of Letters set. Very versatile to be able to build your own greetings, but also just to have all of these different fun shapes, and they do fit within your square and circle punches. Please visit my blog, Hands, Head, and Heart, for more ideas and inspiration using all of my stamp sets, and at Gina K Designs and Stamp TV. Thank you for watching. I hope you will subscribe to my channel. God bless.